From the opening segment of the night to the final one, Triple H confronted Daniel Bryan for the first time since Occupy Raw. He said that after all that he has thrown at him, the fact that he's still standing has earned Triple H's respect. But, at the mention of that word, entered Stephanie McMahon, who went ballistic on Triple H for his diplomatic approach to Bryan. She ends up sending out quote-unquote cops to arrest Bryan. While he does end up in handcuffs, everything from the cops to the tension between Triple H and Stephanie was all revealed to be part of a setup for the demise of Daniel Bryan. The authority waged an assault on him that ranged from him being verbally berated, slapped, tossed all around the damn arena, nearly drowned, and pedigreed to the mat while still in handcuffs. Daniel Bryan was eventually carted off on a stretcher and hauled away in an ambulance. WWE made a lot of headlines based off of last week's Occupy Raw segment. So how was this week's follow-up?
Yeah, this segment brought about some pretty strange feelings for me. On one hand, for the past few weeks, I've been complaining about how we've always ended Raw with Daniel Bryan on his back, and this was no different. But it was orchestrated so beautifully that I can't even complain about it in that regard, because Triple H came off like a badass. They were manipulative, and Stephanie McMahon, Jesus Christ, is she not a young Vince McMahon right now? Like her intensity and her aggression in this whole segment just came off so perfectly. She should be like the predominant authority figure going forward. But it was kind of disturbing to watch at the same time too, because Daniel Bryan got his ass whooped up and down the ring and outside the ring and everywhere. It was kind of, I had to turn away at some points, but it was a great segment overall. And you know that Triple H went backstage and tore that ass up, right? Stephanie looks so turned on.
I was the one that retweeted that. I'm the one that tweeted that. You stealing my lines.
No, but for real, I was thinking it when I was watching it. Like she looks like she's enjoying this way too much right now.
So
they honestly did get some sort of sick pleasure out of it, because after everything was done, they like kissed, and they seemed like an evil couple from like a fucking movie or something like that, like straight up evil supervillains.
Yo, what was that? Those dudes from Rocky and Bullwinkle, the lady in the
Boris and Natasha.
Yeah. Boris and Natasha. Oh man, with that segment, that was borderline uncomfortable. I haven't seen an ass whooping like that since like Ruthless Aggression. I remember I can't remember, because Ric Flair was always bleeding, but anytime Ric Flair bled or got beaten up, there was one time when I thought he was about to bleed out. It was in like 2008. That was one of the last times people used to bleed. But yeah, man, that was crazy, man. We haven't seen something like that in quite some time. Usually guys get beat up and it's like, oh, whatever. But for the era we live in the politically correct world we live in, especially with the WWE, that was very intense, man. Daniel Bryan, once again, he's I would argue he was on his side rather than his stomach or back, so that's a change for once. But I think
well, he was on his back when he was on the stretcher, so
yeah. So yeah, he's practicing for WrestleMania 30, like Charlie says. But yeah, I think that this needed to happen. It builds more for Daniel Bryan. You feel even sorrier for him than you already did before. I saw a lot of uncomfortable faces in the crowd. Hopefully parents don't get too bent up out of shape. I mean, the show is rated PG. That means parental guidance. That doesn't mean that the show is a cakewalk like, I don't know, Brave from Disney. This isn't a cakewalk. I think that was PG too. But anyway, man, terrific segment. Stephanie looked like she was about to orgasm by they get some type of sick pleasure seeing him beaten up. Vince McMahon was like going nuts backstage, like, yes, hit him again. Went on a very long, and I like the fact that it started out awkward, but it had a point to it. Like the cop, oh yeah, by the way, Daniel Bryan, the cops aren't real. That was awesome. So
I honestly, when that happened, I thought he was like going off script, because I remember thinking like these ain't even real cops. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, that was like. It's awesome.
Well, I love this segment to bits. Is it wrong that I marked out like a lot?
No.
sweet because I'm not a crazy Triple H fan, but this segment was so good. Like, just from the moment, like, he's apologizing. He's like, I respect Daniel Bryan. I'm like, well, okay, what is this, like, some kind of face turn? And then the whole Stephanie thing. And then he comes back in. He's like, the cops aren't even real. I was like, oh, no. Oh, snap. And then he kicks his ass. It was amazing. This segment was just, it was beautiful. And it's bad because Daniel Bryan got his ass kicked. And what I'm saying is, like, an amazing segment and stuff. But it's just, it's so good. And this, what Stephanie is like, drowning his, I can't remember what it was, like drowning him or something. I can't remember the exact line, but just amazing segment. And that pedigree at the end, Danny Bryan had to like take it so well, and then the kiss at the end. It reminded me of Edge and Lita when they used to do that thing. So just bravo. And they needed this. Like, Danny Bryan was on top last week, and you can't have him be on top again this week because the heel has to have the advantage. The heel has to be like the dominant force leading up to like the main event sort of thing. So good stuff. Interesting what's going to happen next week, but I'm just looking forward to it. The storyline is just becoming amazing.
I was literally cringing at some of the stuff that happened while at the very same time reveling in the fact that we finally have sadistic, unabashed heels, and not just any heels, but Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, who just so happen to respectively be my favorite male character and female character of all time. And them going out there every single week and reinforcing that belief is truly amazing to me. As far as Stephanie herself goes, she's always played a bitchy character, but recently she's evolved into or should I say devolved, but you know, as bad as it is, it's bad in such a good way. She's like a pure evil harpy, and I love every second of it. And she was literally screaming for Danny Bryan to be drowned. I was like, this woman has lost her motherfucking mind. She was reaching Lizzie level crazy here. Now, all my Walking Dead fans, you know what I'm talking about. Like, Lizzie level crazy. That's top level crazy.
But they're my friends.
And with Triple H, it seems as if he's one of the only competitors that even knows it's fucking WrestleMania season. He's been consistently knocking it out of the park. The best that he's been in all of this time as this authority figure, and I'm glad that he's part of a storyline that's enabling him to be that. One of the reasons I speak so highly upon him and his place in WWE history is because he's amazing at bringing a level of seriousness that I look for in wrestling, and he has this great ability to assess the gravity of a situation and use the different elements of his environment to aid in the storytelling. That's kind of like what Manny was talking about earlier with him jumping on that fan frustration, bringing it into storylines, bringing the perspective of him on the internet into storylines, all of that good stuff. And I'd honestly say you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone as detestable, cold, calculated, and compelling as he is. That compelling part came into play when he pretty much summarized his entire storyline with Daniel Bryan, bringing everything full circle on how it'll eventually lead them into WrestleMania. And then, of course, the detestable part came when he beat the shit out of Daniel Bryan. And, man, that pedigree, it's a move that Triple H has been using for almost 2 friggin' decades. But the fact that Bryan couldn't even brace himself for the impact on the mat because his hands were cuffed behind his back made it even more devastating. Altogether, it was a vicious, flat-out dehumanizing beatdown, and from a violent standpoint, by far the worst thing that I've seen in recent memory. And I'll fully admit to being a terrible person for enjoying it as much as I did. And I know that there's been much noise made about Daniel Bryan getting beat down repeatedly, but this was placed perfectly. I have absolutely no problem with it at all.
Well, the fans on WWE's Facebook page seem to not have liked it very much.
That's too damn bad.
Have you ever read what they say sometimes? They are like, I fear for the future generations of America.
Aren't they kids or something though?
Yeah.
No, some of these are grown-ass people.
Or people who take it like real sort of thing.
Yeah. And they say kayfabe is dead.
Yeah.
Honestly, this was a great segment for me. Like, there had to be some kind of revenge that Triple H got on Daniel Bryan because of how completely embarrassed he was last week. So this was the next logical step to take forward.
And how about that chair shot in the ring post? That was brutal.
I totally forgot.
Yeah.
That one was good too.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Man.
Yeah, like I haven't seen somebody do something sick like that. Del Rio like decapitated Ricardo. He put him between the steps. But that was like the first time in like years. But this was even worse because like Daniel Bryan got drowned and like humiliated. They ripped off his shirt. It was funny when Daniel Bryan though. I'm glad that they booked him to do. Well, maybe he just said it out of spite. But he's like, "You hit like a girl. Come on, do it again. Do it." So at least he showed some fight in him.
Yeah. And that's the thing about Daniel Bryan, because he has that resiliency thing working in his favor. Even though he got the shit beat out of him, he still had those moments where he was fighting back. And I was surprised that all of the stuff that was being thrown at him, he kept getting back up. Like, we talked about all of this stuff that Triple H did to him throwing him to the barricade, him pedigreeing him, almost drowning him, hitting him with the chair in the head. Like, one of those things would have been, like, tough. But the fact that Daniel Bryan kept getting back up time and time again, it was honestly great. And I don't think that Daniel Bryan, he might have lost a few brain cells on Raw, but he still gained a lot in the process, because we also have to take into account that he did pin the world champion, and in the very first segment of the night, you had 3 guys in the ring: Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista. Between them, 31 world championships. 31 between those 3 people. And did you see how fucking panicked they were just at the mere thought of Daniel Bryan being in the main event of WrestleMania? So it's little stuff like that where Daniel Bryan didn't even have to be present, and he was put over because you have these legends, and Batista, he was in there too, but you have these big names out of the history of wrestling, and they're terrified of you. I thought that was amazing.
Really subtle, Jay. So the bigger question, though, is which one of us is driving the bulldozer to WrestleMania?
If Triple H isn't winning this, come on now.
I'm just saying.
You sure about that?
If he wins, then I'll have to question things like forever. But there's no way this is happening. After that beating, we're not going to have him win.
WrestleMania 19.
I don't care. This they don't ever know.
You've become one of them now, Manny. Damn, I thought I had an ally.
I embrace it. I don't care. Like, the thing is that WrestleMania 19 thing is like, that was the most racist shit I've ever seen in the WWE. Let's be real. And Triple H probably should have lost that match, but in the long run, it's better to have him win because he's such a dominant heel. He's the best heel of all time. Besides, wait.
He's a good heel, though.
He's the second best heel of all time, second only to Mr. McMahon in my eyes. So, I mean, having him win WrestleMania 19 is not a bad thing, but it happened. I'm just saying.
But they know this is Daniel Bryan's year, though. Like, they know that, so they're not gonna do this. Vince McMahon's not that dumb.
Year last year, and stuff.
Nah, not gonna happen.
Triple H is gonna win it, and then Daniel Bryan's gonna win it like 2 months later.
You honestly believe Triple H is walking out of WrestleMania with the World Championship?
You honestly put it past him?
Yes. But no, I don't know.
Knowing Triple H. By God, Triple H is the new WWE World Heavyweight.
Okay. I would only accept it if JR was on commentary.
I mean, if he was to win it, that episode of PWTR would be fucking legendary. That review of WrestleMania, because me being such a huge Triple H fan that I am, like, of course, I want Daniel Bryan to defeat Triple H at WrestleMania. I've said that before. That was my whole reasoning for the match being booked in the first place. The only reason I wanted that match to be booked was for Daniel Bryan to defeat Triple H. However, I'm not the one creating the fucking storyline. So if Triple H happened to defeat Daniel Bryan, and if Triple H happened to go on to win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, so be it. Shit.
Unbelievable.
But see, two things here though. If Daniel Bryan beats Triple H, like, that's after that beating, that seems like it's a bigger thing now than win the title. So if he goes on to win the title, wouldn't it be like sort of lackluster then, because he's already beaten like the main thing?
Well, no,
not after the past 6 months.
That's what I've been saying for months now. It's more important for Daniel Bryan to beat Triple H than it is for him to win the title.
After that beating, after that beating, I would 100% agree because it's. And if Triple H wins, the crowd's not going to like that triple threat match at all. So then you got to look at it at that area. So I don't really know.
They have booked it. We wouldn't have to go through this had Batista not win the freaking Royal Rumble.
Look, it's happened. I told you this before. There's only two options that you have in this situation. Build a time machine or build a bridge and get over it. Those are the only two options you have.
I will be calling Doc once he gets back from 2015. But in the meantime, I think that Daniel Bryan needs to win the title. There is no more you need to pull the trigger. This is lightning in a bottle.
What if Triple H just won the title as a TLC, you wouldn't have this problem. But no.
You know what? Honestly, I was thinking about that because when you put everything into perspective, out of the 4 people who could possibly be in the main event of WrestleMania, who are the 2 most interesting ones?
Triple H and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. Boom.
I mean, I was going to say Sting and the Undertaker, but
as I said, picture? Come on, David.
All right.
The 2 most irrelevant people in the fucking storyline right now are the 2 people who have a guarantee to be in the match.
Yeah, and the other 2.
What if they end the Triple H match with the like a double count out or something, and then both of them get inserted into the main event?
I was just thinking that.
I want a definitive ending to Triple H and Daniel Bryan because
I want Daniel Bryan to make him tap out.
That's the main event to me.
Let him get the main event.
But then he goes to the WWE title picture, and you're like, he just beat Triple H. Like, I don't care about this anymore. Even though I wanted to win the title, it's like, eh.
But I have to acknowledge the fact that there are people out there who do. Remember, there are some people who are looking at this Triple H and Daniel Bryan match as a means to an end. Because they had to be fucking.
But see, that was before the stipulation.
And the beating. I just got to keep coming back to that.
Daniel Bryan needs to beat his ass and then go on and win the World Heavyweight title, whatever the hell they want to call it. At the end of that show, the crowd will not accept anything less. It's not even about what any of us want. The crowd will completely crap on that main event. I don't think Triple H is a big enough name for them to accept Daniel Bryan not being in that main event.
Don't challenge him because he'll prove you wrong.
I honestly disagree with that statement. It's not that he's not a big enough name. It's that his name is not Daniel Bryan. That's the thing. Because they're looking at it as it's his year. So I'll give them that. But I'm just saying,
not Stone Cold, then nobody's going to accept it.
I'm just saying, if it happens, I won't be driving the bulldozer. I'll be driving the fucking first car in the parade, the first float. It'll be a big ass Triple H head, big nose and all, but I'll make sure I have those championships up there too.
Right next to a shovel.
You work for his PR department, don't you?
Shouldn't that be his main weapon now instead of the sledgehammer?